then how to proceed with your project. So first up is Jeremy Nevin. I'd like to welcome Jeremy. Jeremy's from Tackaberries, and he's the Energy Design Manager at Tackaberries.
I'm going to apologize right off the bat. I do need to run out to collect some of my children after this. So if anybody has any questions, I'll be sure to leave a pile of cards with Alan. Email me, call me. I'll endeavor to answer each and every question as accurately as I possibly can. I'll do a little bit more of an intro here for myself. Again, my name is Jeremy Nevin. The company I work for is Tackaberry Heating and Refrigeration Supplies. Many of you that were here Tuesday night already heard this intro. I guess what gives me the right to stand up here and talk about all of these things. I've been in the trades my entire life. Our family's been into the 4th generation of custom home builders now. Number of different trades involvement. Primarily what I work in right now is certified energy evaluation. We help rate LEED H homes, which just came out not that long ago. Greenhouse, which is offered through EnerQuality, EnerGuide for new houses, Energy Star homes, and we're involved with a lot of different home builders associations, also to the level of the Ontario Building Officials Association. I also consult for them on their technical sessions and do a number of different things for them. HRAI is the Heating, Refrigeration, and Air Conditioning Institute of Canada that we're also a part of. One of the things I always like to say is that there's a lot of grants available. And this was one of the slides from the other night. All these grants reward energy efficient products and design. What we need to look at is what expectations do we have. So when we're designing the house, we're going to look at, in particular tonight, solar thermal and geothermal. What I'd like to show you guys is that if you're going to put all that money into these systems, we need to make sure that we're going to keep that energy where we want it. So when we're looking at it, we're going to look at 2 primary things. We're going to look at comfort and code compliance. What are the occupant expectations? And in those expectations, how do we want to control the system? What's the budget? Are there any health issues? And do we have any competing equipment that's going to be contrary to each other? System control, Brad Leonard said this really well the other night when he said, let's heat the space that we're living in, like our grandparents and parents used to do. We can do that, not particularly with a specific piece of equipment, but we can do that with many, many different zoning strategies. We can do it with our home heating systems, and we can zone every room off. We can do it with radiant floor systems that will provide heat simply for the single room that it's being used for. Budget is always an issue. People have a tendency to want to oversell. We all get very excited about these wonderful systems that are out there, but if it doesn't fit for your budget and you're going to put yourself behind because of it, we all know that's not going to work. Health issues, I was just speaking with Mike Tippy beforehand about VOC in paints, volatile organic compounds, the off-gassing that is involved in all of our homes nowadays. These are very concerning issues, primarily because we don't really see them. We don't feel them. They're long-term effects. And we need to mitigate these. So VOCs in paints, formaldehydes in cabinets, off-gassing of carpets, all of these things need to be taken into consideration. We normally look at these either by eliminating the problem or by mitigating it with things like HRVs, heat recovery ventilators, that provide fresh air into the home. Some of the code requirements. We always start out, and I'm speaking more so on new homes, we always start out with the Ontario Building Code. The Ontario Building Code, as I said the other night, is the start. It's a bare minimum. So if you have a home that's built to the Ontario Building Code standard, you have a very well-designed home, it is a bare minimum base standard home. It's not going to fall down on you tonight. One of the exciting parts about the Ontario Building Code is Part 12. This is a new inclusion that was just on the last code update. Part 12 basically gives us a performance path to follow. Before in the Ontario Building Code, it used to state, and still does, thou shalt build with this certain type of R value, R20 for your walls, R40 for your ceiling. That is still there, but Part 12 gives us an option to go with an EnerGuide 80 rating now. So Part 12 says, if we can prove that this house can perform to an EnerGuide 80 status, we don't really care what you put in the walls. For anybody that is aware of where I live and what type of structure I live in, it's called a yurt. That yurt is arguably R10 in the walls, and there's different arguments as to the actual R value of it, but it's an incredibly airtight home. We were able to rate that with our off-grid system, our solar thermal systems, and our composting toilets and gray water systems, and everything that we've put into it, have given us a rating beyond EnerGuide 80. We were issued a residential occupancy building permit based on that. I do believe we'd be one of the first in Ontario to do that. So we can do a lot of different things with that. Bear that in mind if you're looking to building a new home. You might have aspects that exceed the Ontario Building Code. They can essentially be used as a trade-off in other areas. Home rating, we talked about EnerGuide 80. The home rating programs that are out there, I had a quick slide there of a lot of them that popped up there. The larger ones that you hear about now are EnerGuide, or Energy Star, sorry. Energy Star is EnerGuide 80. It's a pass-fail system. It's designed for tract builders primarily to be able to take a lot of houses and in a very simple, somewhat prescriptive manner say this is what we're doing. And we have passed that EnerGuide 80 scale. So if you're looking at an Energy Star home, the normal core structure of that program is going to state that you have an R19 plus 5 wall. What they mean by an R19 plus 5 is we have an R19 batt and our 2x6 standard wall with foam on the outside. The reason that we want to see that is we want to stop thermal bridging. And this is appropriate for anybody doing a reno, anybody building a new home. Stop thermal bridging. If you've got an R20 batt in your wall, your 2x4 stud or your 2x6 stud might be as low as R3 or R4. So we've got all these studs. If we add up all the studs in the wall, the top plate, the bottom plate, the double top plate, the jacks, the cripples, the headers, we have about a quarter of that structure of that wall is lumber at R4. So the more lumber we can remove to do that is obviously rewarded on the Energy Star, and that's the primary core wall structure for Energy Star. Now Energy Star takes into a lot of other considerations. There's trade-offs involved. We want to see raised heel trusses in the attic so that we don't have compressed insulation over the top plate. We want to try to remove as many studs as possible. So 16-inch centers is normal spacing for studs. We want to try to promote 24-inch centers, still structurally sound, but we're removing a portion of the lumber that's allowing that thermal bridging. LEED H has just been launched. Now this is a really exciting program in my opinion, because it takes into so much consideration, so much more. It takes into consideration where are you buying your products from? Are you buying locally sourced lumber? What is the footprint of all the transport that's required to get it there? How are we disposing of our recyclable materials? What's our ecological footprint of the home? So that one is a really good one to get involved with, and there's a whole lot of other rating systems out there. Some of the other things we want to look at, TSSA. They get involved with, this is the Technical Safety and Standards Association, they get involved with the fuel-fired end of things, amongst other things. Electrical safety, the Electrical Safety Authority has jurisdiction over your electrical systems, all your photovoltaics, your wind power systems. They have to be taken into consideration. And simple environmental impacts. If we're building in a flood zone, if we're building next to a conservation area, there's limits to some of the things that we can do. All these things should be taken into consideration when you're looking at building.